Hey y'all, appreciate you joining me today. Um, so today I want to talk about all the stuff you see here. This is stuff that I bought last year to get started growing peppers in my own house and growing them, crossing them, growing in starting in soil and hydroponics, and just going from seed to harvest. And I just wanted to, go over each of these things that I bought last year to help me do that. And by no means is this a full list of everything you must have, or you know the best things or anything. This is just what I bought, and it worked really well for me. So before I go into to each of these things, I just want to say kind of why I started this channel. This is a new channel for me. It's my first channel. I've, like I said, the last few years I've been growing peppers, but last year was really the first year I started growing in a tent in my own house, and it was pretty enjoyable. I just liked how simple it was watching your peppers grow, and especially creating hybrids that are unique, ones that you can call your own that nobody else has. Um, so, and there's definitely several channels of people that do this, and I watched a lot of their content, and I figured, why not? I'll do it. I'll do it too. I mean, I'm doing it already, so I figured I'd make some videos about it and see if we can all learn more. I'd like to learn more definitely from y'all too, because I'm by no means any kind of you know master gardener or professional breeder. Definitely not a pepper breeder, but you'd be surprised that you could kind of be one in your own way, just being able to make crosses and growing new varieties. So that being said, if anybody has any advice or suggestions, I'm open to it. Put in the comments, and yeah. So we'll get started with what I've got here. Let's see. So this is just a simple dry pellet. You can get this anywhere. I shouldn't have gotten one this big. It'd take me 100 years to go through this, but these are really nice to put in some starter plants grown in soil. And we'll go into that further, though. I'm going to be making a lot of series. I'm just kind of showing right now all the stuff that I use, and also I'm going to leave a link in the description. Where all this stuff, most of it, I'll tell you, was on Amazon. Most of this stuff can be bought relatively cheap. Um, Relatively cheap. Some of the stuff is pretty necessary. Some of the stuff is just optional that I ended up getting. Um, this, let's see. I'll start with the nutrients with growing hydroponically. So these three here come in a set. The Flora series. Again, I'll just pretty much tell you everything here is either Amazon or like a Dollar General or Dollar Tree. But this stuff here, not going to find on the Dollar Tree. Um, these come as a set. You will use all three. You will mix each of these together in a gallon of water, and I'll go into exactly how it's done, how it's mixed. But just know that these three are going to be your main nutrients when creating your hydroponic solution. So each of them brings kind of a different thing to your plants. This is the grow. It's pretty much got your nitrogen and I guess potassium there, and it pretty much provides the growth to the plant. This is going to be your bloom. It's gonna have more of your phosphorus and your as well as your potassium with no nitrogen, and then your micro, which I guess has a few more micronutrients that promotes more of the growth during the during the fruit growing stage. So we'll get into those, and they worked really well for me. I used these last year. You can see I've still got about half a level here. I grew about 40 pretty big plants outside, as well as maybe 15 or 20 hydroponic plants in anything from like 2-gallon containers to smaller containers like this here. So anyways, this is what I used last year. I think all 3 of those will cost you maybe 30 bucks, maybe 40. So kind of pricey, but anyways, they work for me. I'm probably not going to use them as much this year. I might do some experiment to using different solutions, but this is what I'm going to use this year. It's kind of all in one. You can see it's got NP and K all in it, and this will get you through really start to finish. You can use this through all stages of the plant, but they do have another series called Dyna Bloom. So pretty much when you want to transition to flowers and further, you can switch over completely to the Bloom series. So, and the cool thing about this is it only takes it really takes 1/3 of what all these. You mix 1 teaspoon per gallon. This also, you use 1 teaspoon per gallon, and this pretty much includes all of that stuff. So just simpler. I'm gonna say it's I've unopened. I haven't used it yet, so it's gonna be new for me. So, but I've heard it does pretty well. So that's what I'm gonna use this year. This is something else. This is more optional, especially if you use the Bloom series. But this has your calcium, magnesium, and iron that the plants really need during during flowering and fruiting. So it's just kind of an extra supplement that, and I think you can pick this up at a lot of different. I don't know if maybe Home Depot carries it, not sure, but again, Amazon carries it, so you can get it on there. This is just a simple water pump. It's real simple. This is just an optional thing. Definitely don't have to have that, but it makes it nice and easy when you're just wanting to shoot a little water to your plants. So I want to talk about the pH. If growing hydroponically, the pH is pretty important. For peppers specifically, you want to keep your pH, their happy levels about a 5.9 to 6.0. And if you know much about pH, that's a little acidic. Around a 7 is pretty neutral. That's typically what water is going to be. That's the baseline for water. The closer you go to 0 is more acidic. The closer you go to 14 is more alkaline or basic. And so at 5.9, peppers like a little higher acidity. So to buffer your water, whatever you're using, you're probably going to use tap water. And most tap water is going to be a little more basic, a little alkaline. And so it's going to be anywhere from 7.5 to 8.5. It can even be higher than 8.5 if your water is really hard. And hard water just means you have a lot of different minerals in your water already, like calcium, and which calcium is good. Like I said, calcium is good for plant growth, but you can have too much, and you get that gritty white calcium deposits, which it doesn't hurt anything. It's just kind of, you got to clean it off, and it can build up. So pH, if you need to lower and raise, which you'll need to do it. Nobody has that perfect 5.9 water, or I don't know, maybe they do, but mine is like around the 8.2. So I have to use what's called this pH down and pH up. And what this is just a concentrated acid. Don't want to get this on your fingers. And all it takes is a little dropper, and drop that in your water before you prepare it, and get that pH to that right level. Well, you'll actually do this after you put in your nutrients, but we'll go into that later. And then this is pH up, just a concentrated base, again, to raise it in case you lowered it too much. You pretty much don't ever have to start off with this, because most people's water is not acidic, but I don't know. There could be a case where that's true. So these can also be bought at Amazon, but there typically is, you can find these at nursery sometimes too. I think our nursery has something like that, maybe a different name, but this is a little dropper that I got just at CVS or Walgreens, and it's just a nice, you can see it's got 0.5, 1, let's see, yeah, 0.5, 1, 1.5, and 2 milliliter, or 2 teaspoons. And teaspoons is pretty much what all these are, what you measure in. So like I say, most of these recommend 1 teaspoon per gallon. So I've got it set to 1 teaspoon here. When you pull it back, it goes right, let's see, right exactly to the 1 teaspoon, which is 5 milliliters. So this is all you need for an entire gallon with this stuff here. With these, you need 1 teaspoon here, 1 teaspoon here, and 1 teaspoon here for a gallon, and you mix it all up real well. So again, that's why I'm getting this one. These work really well. I had great results with these, but like I said, I'm going to try something different this year. So I think this is maybe 10 or 15 bucks. People use these, I guess, to mix some medicines for them. But yeah, so that worked really well for me. These are some rock stones, or air stones. Provide your roots with oxygen for a circulating system. We'll get into all that later, but I think I might have paid maybe 12, 15 bucks on Amazon. But anyways, so now to maybe the most important thing. One of the most important things with growing inside is what light you choose to get. It's not too bright in here. I've got this light on a lower level mode, but I've got the old Blurple lights. I know it's old, it's outdated, people aren't using it as much anymore, but yeah, it worked really well for me. I am this year going to get a more bright light, full spectrum light that are more popular and common these days. But just for the time being, I mean, this worked really well for me. I think I got it on Amazon for like maybe 70 bucks. It's by Gixxer. It's just yeah, it's the thing about these. It's kind of funny on Amazon. You'll see these lights that say 1,000 watts or 1,500 watts, and don't go by the big text that you see at the top, because it's just not true. This is not. It's not 1,000 watts. It's not 1,500 watts. What you need to pay attention to is the actual power draw. And you can read it in fine print somewhere in these descriptions. But if you can see here, power draw 110 watts. That's what it is. This thing was listed as 1,000. It is not 1,000 watts. And it might say somewhere in fine print comparable to what 1,000 watt light would do, which, I don't know about that, but what you need to pay attention to is what it actually draws from your socket, and that's 110. So this is a 110 watt light. This area that I've got here is 8 square foot. It's just 2 by 4 feet, and so from what I've seen, from what I've read, and you can get bogged down in this and try to find out what's the perfect amount of wattage, what should you get, because there are a lot of different lights out there. I mean, a lot. You go on Amazon and it's just an endless number. What I've found is that 100 to 120 per 4 square feet is fine. So I've got 8 square feet. So I've got 2 of these. I've got one going above. You might can hear the little fan going. But I've got 2 of them. So I kind of like having 2. You can raise and lower, one side. If you've got some starter plants, you can, lower this one here. And then if you've got older plants here, you can, raise this one up. But, like I say, I think this year I am going to go for one of the more full spectrum lights, and it can also dim, which is nice. These do not dim, but these are the blurples, so that's blue and purple. They have 2 different separate wavelengths. And anyways, it's worked for me. I know it's kind of funny. It's the old lights, but it's worked really well for me. The glare of the red and the purple, it can be kind of obnoxious. So I'm looking forward to getting a white light. But if this is all you have, I mean, it's fine. It's fine. But I am curious to see the difference in the full spectrum light. So that's that. Something else I've kind of, I guess, skipped. A good pH meter. I forgot to really say. I mean, how are you going to know what your pH is? They got a lot of different pH meters out there that work. They all work fairly well. This one's from Dr. Meter here. I think I paid about $45 for this one. I'd recommend getting a nicer one. This one, I don't know, top of the line, but it's pretty good. It's going to be pretty accurate every time you do it. You may have to calibrate it once a year. It's probably a good thing to do. But you can get these cheaper yellow ones, which I have one, and it's done fine, but it can kind of go up and down later. So, and those cost you maybe $10. So if you're starting out, you could definitely get one of those to see if this is something you like to do. But I would recommend something like this if you're really wanting to get into it and have a really accurate reading. But yeah, so pH meter. Something else, these cheap fans. This is a Genesis from just from Amazon, and it's got a simple floor stand like this, and it's got a clip on that you can clip to these the stands of your tent, or whatever, a power strip. That's what I do. A little air movement is definitely good, especially in an enclosed tent like this, because I mean, we're trying to mimic outside, and if you don't have any air at all, that's not really that's not really how it is outside. Also, a little bit of air, a little bit of breeze promotes your plants pollinating. When your flowers can move, that's a good thing. It can toss out some of the pollen and pollinate your flowers, so that you can get some peppers. And so a little bit of wind is good for helping your flowers shake the pollen out a little bit, so that the flowers can pollinate themselves and you can get the fruit. So something else I've got that you can't see here is I've got an intake fan. I bought that on Amazon too. I can't remember the name of it. It's up there, but I will link that also in the description. It basically, every hour, I've got it on a timer that maybe every 2 hours, it sucks the kind of the old stagnant air out of the tent and brings in fresh air. Like I said, every 2 hours or so. I think it goes for 1 minute. It's, to me, it's preference right now. Some people swear by it, but it's what I bought last year, so I'm gonna keep doing it. If some of you maybe know why that's more, you know, why the plants prefer that. To me, it just seems like, new fresh air would only help the plants, and they seem to respond to it good. Something else too here, and this is the more basic things with hydroponic growth. I think most people probably know these, but these are called rock wool. They're just little cubes that are kind of like a what's that stuff? Like the scrubber wool, but these are really soft. They can break apart. You can just pretty much crunch right through them, but they're really nice for starting seed. They've got these little, holes in them already pre-done. Each of these is a square. And yeah, if you want to get started with hydroponics, this is pretty much where you're gonna start putting your seed in, and you just wet them with water, and they'll eventually germinate, and you can put them in their nutrient solution. But we'll get to that later. Some people, I've heard some channels of people saying, you don't have to spend the money on this. You can get stuff like, what were those, the pool noodles, the foam. And I mean, there's really endless numbers of ideas that you could use to, to improve, or to have something, a little cheaper option. And that's cool. This is just what I bought. I think they came in a bag of 48. It might have been $20, but you can't reuse them. So that's one thing that, if you can come up with something else, cool. Talk about it in the comments, and yeah, I'll always like to try something new. So these are net cups. These are pretty standard net cups. I think these are 2 inches. Yeah, let's see. Yep, 2 inches. A 50 pack online. I don't remember, $20 maybe, 15 or so. You can reuse these. So I've reused, even in growing some like 3 or 4 foot plants. Surprisingly, I've reused most all of the ones that I've bought. So that's that can be a one-time purchase. You might have to restock them eventually, but it's nice that you can reuse them. And I think these are 1.5 inches, so they fit just perfectly inside. Let's see. Yeah, 1.5 inches. So they fit really nicely inside the 2 inch. But you see the trend. If you want to get a larger cup, get a slightly larger rock wool. Now let's see. Timers. This worked really well for me. This is just kind of a cheap timer on Amazon. You plug it in, and then you plug in your lights here. I think I've just got an extension cable because my outlet's a little farther away. But plug in your extension cable, and it wires off to where my 2 lights connect to it. And I turn on my lights, I think around 8 a.m. and then turn it off. It turns off at 9 p.m. So that's 13 hours of light. That number really varies between everybody. Some people say 8 hours, some will say 10. Some will say 16. That's something you can just kind of play with. The 13 hours worked really well for me last year. So, maybe I make a series on using very different, like an 8 hour and a 12 or 16 hour, and just see which one does better. So, but that worked for me. And these, I think this was $20, something like that. But, if you're going to grow in a tent like this, you definitely are going to have a timer, because you're not going to be able to remember every morning, every night to turn it on. At first you can, and if you're on more of a budget, sure, you can get by without having to buy a timer, but they really pay for themselves pretty quickly. Something else, this is some of my Dollar Tree stuff. These are just $1. Some stones that you can put in your starter hydroponic plants to block out some of the sunlight, or some of the light, which can cause algae growth. But we'll get into that. Again, it's cool that you can buy a bag of rocks like that for $1 at the Dollar Tree, but they're there. Something that I started doing the last couple of years is to help pollination, especially in some of these plants that don't give off much pollen. It's just a old toothbrush. I ripped the head off, and it's got this little vibrating end here. You just touch the flower, touch the flower stem, and you turn that on. Lightly touch it, and I mean you'll the pollen pours out. So let's see, it's just a 2-gallon bucket from Lowe's. It's what I use to grow a couple hydroponic peppers in here. And this being 8 square foot, I actually had three of those in here, plus a lot of small cups to get started the season with. And I feel like 3 was a little too much. So this year I'm gonna try just one of these per side. Once I've got all my little peppers out of here and it's a little later in the year and I've got everything outside, I want to grow 2 large plants in here. And I feel like an 8 square foot tent like this would fit 2 plants nicely, just one here and one here. Something else, these are more Dollar Tree things. These were $1, just containers, little plastic containers. I'm gonna actually grow maybe some peppers in here, but I think I'm gonna grow some just different types of lettuces and stuff. Wife and I are eating a little healthier, and some of that lettuce can be a little expensive at the stores, so it's real simple to grow your own too. So I'm gonna have a little series on that as well, how you can grow lettuces in your own tent. So something else, might not can see it. The background, this iPower, it's a seed starter heat mat. So this black mat here, it covers the whole area. It's 2 by 4 foot, and so it's just think of like a heating pad for your feet. It doesn't get that hot, but what it does is warms up your your trays with seedlings in it. Gets that temperature nice and warm to promote germination a little faster. It's one of those things that you don't have to have by any means. You don't have to go out and buy this. It was pretty cheap. I think it was like $25 on Amazon, which is kind of surprising. They're not that cheap in Walmart for the ones that wrap around your leg or whatever. But yeah, again, I think this is going to be one of those things where I'm going to try using heat, and then growing some plants not using heat, and see which one germinates faster. See if maybe I'm just wasting my money. I don't think I am, because like all crops, as the soil warms up, it's going to promote germination a lot faster. So that's what that is. And again, Amazon item. And then really, this whole deal here, what I'm sitting in, this is a Vivo Sun tent on Amazon. I think I paid about $75 for this. So this is one of your most expensive things too. Again, another thing that's it's not required by no means, but you can see the sides are all reflective, and it can get nice and warm in here. I think it stays, when my lights are on in mid growing season, at 80 to 85. Well, about 82 or so is what it stays at, which is just perfect growing temperature. And yeah, so you don't have to have this. A couple things: you do have to have the lights, you do have to have some mineral or some nutrients, and I think you have to have a pH meter. But you can get by just growing peppers on your own for, you could get by with probably $50. You probably could, but as you get more into it, you're going to want the luxuries of some of these things. And the tent is so nice to just have this little you know, tiny little greenhouse here, where you can control everything. So anyways, that's kind of a rundown on everything that I've got, at least, you know, to get started. And I just wanted to start this channel off with, you know, kind of what I bought and what I got started with. And I guess that's going to be about it. You know, I appreciate all y'all watching. And oh, something else. I'd say someone that really you know, got me interested in this, and you know, kind of got me to start doing this is a channel. The guy's name is Kangstar. He's pretty popular. You know, he's pretty knowledgeable on this kind of stuff. He does pretty much do a similar type deal. He, you know, grows peppers and does other things, grows different vegetables, but he focuses on peppers, especially the super hot ones, which I like as well. And I mean, I've watched all his videos, but go check his channel out. And you know, he's very easy to listen to, and just pretty knowledgeable. So yeah, if you're watching Kang, you know, you're the reason why I started this. So check his channel out. And but you know, you know, some people might say, well, you know, you're kind of doing some of the similar things that other people are doing. Well, that's true, but you know, I enjoy watching a lot of the videos, just kind of binge watching it. So I figured the more that's out there, the better. And you know, I will be trying to do some different you know, different ideas than and there's other channels too. Chili Chump, he's a guy out in, I think, in England. I like his stuff too. He kind of goes more into like electronics, and he makes sauces and different recipes as well. And he's a good listen to as well. But yeah, I'm gonna do just slightly, maybe some different ideas, and use a little different methods for you know, for growing and for crossing. And yeah, so that's about it. That's you know, enjoy y'all, or appreciate y'all listening. And yeah, looking forward to making future videos. And again, if anybody, you know, has any advice or recommendations, let me know in the comments. And just please subscribe, and we'll see y'all next time.